I've been an actuary for about 30 years. I became one right after I graduated from university, and it's hard to believe it's already been 3 decades that I've been an actuary. Probably I would like to identify most with a cheetah, just because cheetahs are fast. I heard of people when they studied for exams, they would get on habits like drinking too much Coke to get that caffeine or drinking too much coffee. I never really got into that, but probably a habit I developed was simply studying too much. I just really never felt like I was done. So whether it was early in the morning or late at night, I felt like I always needed to be studying. I did fail a few actuarial exams along the way. I know one in particular I failed was when I took my first upper level exam. So that was after the preliminary exams, because that's when they shifted from multiple choice to essay type questions. And at first I thought I could just study the same way I had been studying for multiple choice. And it was a rude awakening when I got a very low score on that first exam. So then I had to figure out a new way to study to master those upper level exams. And then probably the biggest exam or biggest impact when I failed an exam was when I took what was supposed to be my last exam. So I somewhat celebrated after I took that last exam. And then about 2 months later, I got the results that I got a 5. And so I realized I was going to have to gear up and start studying again. So that was really depressing because I thought I was done with the exams, but then realized I had to study again and take the exam. I think my role model is actually my dad. He was just a great influence on my life, very much took an involved approach with me. We were close up until his death just a couple years ago. So he taught me a lot by his actions and by his words. If somebody's thinking about becoming an actuary, I would definitely tell them it is a long journey. Somebody told me when I first started my career that the actuarial exams are going to take a big bite out of your 20s. When I first heard that, I didn't know what that person meant, but then after I studied so much in my 20s, then I understood. So you have to make sure you're in it for the long haul, because I think the actuarial profession is great after you finish your exams because you have more time to focus on working and doing projects. It's just really hard when you're in the exam taking process because you're having to split your attention between studying and taking exams and then also doing work. So it's just hard to budget the time to get both of those in. Actually, I do like jelly beans and I think what's called jelly bellies. My favorite flavor is root beer because I like that as a drink also. So I think I like that flavor in the candy. My actuarial career, in fact, really just my business career, has been very unexpected. I think that's how I would sum it up. Certainly not something what I would have thought was going to be the case is how it's played out. So just very different. As a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And so I would walk around the house, even when we had guests over, and try to take people's temperature or listen to their heart. So I wanted to be what my parents used to say was a get well doctor. So not necessarily in a hospital, but just at a clinic or something. But then I realized as I got just a bit older that I was scared of blood. And so that kind of deterred me from the whole medical profession. I'm sure when I was a teenager, I thought I had everything figured out. I think that's pretty normal for teenagers to think that they know a lot more than their parents. But then by the time you hit your college age and right after that, you realize maybe I don't have things figured out. Then I think I definitely knew I did not have things figured out once I had kids. We actually have 7 kids and they're all different and they create lots of challenges. So I realized that I did not know everything. So I don't know when I would ever think I have things figured out because circumstances change, life changes, and you're just constantly learning. But I think that's okay. It's okay to always be learning and just be humble and realize that you don't have everything figured out. I've actually worked from home now for over 20 years, so it would be hard for me to go back to an office environment on a full-time basis. I really like the flexibility of working at home, that way I can work different hours. Also, I like being able to integrate my personal and work life. So it's not as if I have a clear line between going to work and coming home, that I can just go back and forth between those areas in my life. And so I like that, being able to blend work and family life. I think first impressions are very important. First impressions are lasting impressions. So I think when you meet somebody for the first time, when you introduce a product to the market for the first time, it's very important that you convey the message that you want, because you don't really get a second chance at a first impression. So take the time to do that right. Think about how you're going to do it in advance, and just make sure you're setting a good first impression.